"Your cooking is an embarrassment," Mom announced, snatching the turkey baster from my hands and passing it to my brother's wife. "Last month, I watched her wait 4 hours for a table at my restaurant. She didn't recognize me in the chef's whites. But I recognized her. The same woman who had banned me from Thanksgiving dinner 7 years ago because my green bean casserole looked like something from a gas station. The irony? That embarrassing casserole recipe is now a $42 appetizer at Marigold, my 3 Michelin-starred restaurant in Manhattan. But let me take you back to where this all started. Thanksgiving 2017. The Morrison family gathered at my parents' colonial home in Greenwich, Connecticut, the same house where I'd grown up being told that cooking was a hobby, not a career. My brother Derek was the golden child. Harvard MBA, corner office at Goldman Sachs, perfect wife Brittany, who could make a Pinterest-worthy charcuterie board, but couldn't boil water without burning it. I was the disappointment. The one who dropped out of business school to attend Culinary Institute. The one who worked 18-hour days at a tiny restaurant in Brooklyn, coming home smelling like garlic and failure, at least according to my mother. Vivian, sweetheart. Mom had said that fateful Thanksgiving, her voice dripping with that particular condescension she reserved just for me. We've decided that this year, Brittany will handle all the cooking. I'd been preparing Thanksgiving dinner for our family since I was 19. 12 years of brining turkeys, perfecting gravy, and creating desserts that made my father cry with joy. But that year, I was demoted to setting the table. "It's just that your food is so heavy," Brittany added, smoothing her cashmere sweater. "I'm doing a lighter menu. Healthier." Her lighter menu consisted of a dry, overcooked turkey breast, box stuffing, and a sweet potato casserole topped with so many marshmallows it could have been dessert. My father pushed food around his plate. Nobody went for seconds. But the real blow came when I tried to contribute. I'd brought my grandmother's apple pie. The recipe she'd taught me before she passed, the one I'd spent years perfecting with a salted caramel drizzle and handmade lattice crust. "Oh, we don't need that," Mom said, literally blocking me from the dessert table. "Brittany made a lovely pumpkin cheesecake from Whole Foods. Store-bought is fine for family, Vivian. We're not trying to impress anyone." I left my grandmother's pie on the counter, untouched. I left my dignity somewhere between the foyer and my rental car. And I left that house with a fire in my chest that would fuel the next 7 years of my life. The following Monday, I quit my sous chef position at a forgettable bistro and emptied my savings, $23,000, to open a 12-seat restaurant in a converted garage in Red Hook, Brooklyn. Everyone told me I was insane. My father offered to help me find a real job. Derek sent me LinkedIn postings for corporate cafeteria managers. I named the restaurant Marigold, after my grandmother's favorite flower. The first 2 years were brutal. I slept on a cot in the back kitchen. I ate rice and beans when the money ran out. I hand-wrote menus because I couldn't afford a printer. There were nights I sobbed into my cutting board, wondering if my family was right. But I kept cooking. I kept creating dishes that told stories. My Korean grandmother's influence mixed with my classical French training, Southern comfort food reimagined with Japanese techniques. I cooked with the anger of a woman told her entire life that she wasn't good enough. By 2019, a food blogger stumbled into Marigold on a Tuesday night. Her review went viral. "The most transcendent meal I've eaten in New York," she wrote. "Chef Vivian Morrison is a genius hiding in plain sight." Within 6 months, we had a 3-month wait list. Within a year, we'd moved to a proper location in Tribeca. The James Beard Foundation nominated me for Rising Star Chef. The New York Times gave us 3 stars, their highest rating. And my family? They had no idea. I'd changed my professional name to Vivian Langford, using my grandmother's maiden name. I never posted personal photos. I declined television appearances that would show my face. I wanted my food to speak, not my family drama. When we received our first Michelin star in 2021, Derek texted the family group chat. "Anyone try that new place Marigold? Brittany's been dying to go, but it's impossible to get reservations." I stared at that message for an hour. When the second star came, Mom actually mentioned at a family gathering that she'd heard wonderful things about that restaurant and how some chef from Brooklyn is really making waves. She didn't connect the dots. She never asked what I was doing with my life anymore. The third star was announced 6 months ago. 3 Michelin stars, a distinction held by only 13 restaurants in all of New York City. Forbes ran a cover story, Chef Vivian Langford, the reclusive genius behind America's best restaurant. Still, my family remained oblivious. Then came last month. My assistant informed me that a party of 4 had been waiting in our lounge for a table. Nearly 4 hours. This wasn't unusual. People waited all night for a chance to eat at Marigold. But when she mentioned the name on the reservation, my heart stopped. Morrison. Party of 4. Derek Morrison. I watched from the kitchen window as my brother, his wife, and my parents were finally seated at table 7. Mom was wearing the pearl necklace she saved for special occasions. Dad had on his good blazer. Brittany was photographing everything for Instagram. They didn't know the woman in the chef's whites, the one expediting dishes behind the pass, was the same woman they'd banned from Thanksgiving dinner. I cooked their meal myself. Every course. I put my entire soul into those plates. The dishes that told my story, my journey, my years of being told I wasn't enough. The server reported back. Mom had tears in her eyes after the foie gras. Dad said it was the best meal of his entire life. Brittany asked if she could meet the chef. I stayed in the kitchen. At the end of the night, Derek requested the check. The server handed him the leather folder. Inside, instead of a bill, I'd placed a note. Dinner is on the house. Consider it my contribution to family dinner. Finally, one you'll accept. The green bean casserole is on the tasting menu. Turns out it's worth $42 now. See you at Thanksgiving? Vivian. The server told me what happened next. How Derek's face went white. How Mom grabbed the note and read it 3 times. How Dad stood up so fast he knocked over his water glass, scanning the kitchen desperately. But I was already gone, out the back door, sitting on a milk crate in the alley, crying for reasons I still don't fully understand. My phone exploded. 17 missed calls. 43 text messages. Voicemails I couldn't bring myself to play. I ignored them all. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived at the restaurant. Hand-delivered by my father. He'd waited outside for 6 hours because I wouldn't see him. Dear Vivian, I have started this letter 37 times. I don't have words big enough for what I need to say, so I'll start with the small ones. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't believe in you. I'm sorry I let your mother convince me that practical meant better. I'm sorry I missed 12 years of your life because I was too proud to admit I was wrong. That meal was the most extraordinary thing I've ever experienced. Not because of the technique or the presentations, but because I could taste you in every bite. Your grandmother's influence. Your stubbornness. Your heart. We were wrong. All of us. And I know a letter can't fix that. But I want you to know, I've told everyone who will listen that my daughter is the greatest chef in America. I pull up your Forbes cover on my phone and show it to strangers. Your mother cried for 3 days after we got home. Not from sadness, but from the overwhelming grief of realizing what we almost lost. We're not asking for forgiveness. We're not asking for a relationship you don't want to give. We're just asking for one thing. Please come to Thanksgiving this year. Not to cook. Not to prove anything. Just to be there. Your mother is making her terrible dry turkey. Brittany will probably bring something from Whole Foods. It will be nothing compared to what you could create. But it will be family. And there's an empty seat that's been waiting for you for 7 years. Whatever you decide, I want you to know, I am proud of you. I should have said it 1,000 times. I should have been at every restaurant opening, every award ceremony, every late night when you needed someone to believe in you. I failed you. But if you'll let me, I'd like to spend whatever time I have left making it right. With all my love, Dad. I read that letter 40 times before I made my decision. Thanksgiving Day, 2024. I pulled up to my parents' colonial home in Greenwich, Connecticut, for the first time in 7 years. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely turn off the engine. Mom opened the door before I reached the porch. She looked older. Smaller. Her eyes were red before she even saw my face. You came, she whispered. I came. She hugged me in the doorway for 10 minutes while the turkey overcooked in the kitchen. Derek apologized so many times I lost count. Brittany quietly asked if I'd sign her copy of the Forbes magazine. And Dad just sat in his chair, watching me with tears streaming down his face, too overwhelmed to speak. Dinner was a disaster. The turkey was dry. The stuffing was bland. The mashed potatoes had lumps the size of golf balls. It was the best Thanksgiving meal I'd ever had. As we sat around the table, my mother raised her glass. To Vivian, she said, her voice cracking. The embarrassment who became extraordinary. We don't deserve you, but we're grateful you're here. I could have said something profound. I could have made a speech about perseverance or the sweetness of vindication. Instead, I just smiled and took a bite of terrible turkey. Hey, Mom. Yes, sweetheart. Next year, I'm bringing the green bean casserole. She laughed, the first genuine laugh I'd heard from her in years. I'd like that. I'd really like that. Later that night, after everyone had gone to bed, I found my father in the kitchen, wrapping leftovers. He looked up when I walked in. I kept your grandmother's pie, he said quietly. The one from that last Thanksgiving. I found it in the garage freezer last year. Your mother must have hidden it. I couldn't throw it away. He opened the freezer and pulled out a frost-covered container. Inside was a 7-year-old apple pie, preserved like a museum piece. I ate a slice every year on your birthday, he admitted. It was my way of remembering what we lost. I don't know why that broke me more than anything else. But I stood in my mother's kitchen at 2 a.m., holding a frozen pie, and cried in my father's arms. Some victories don't taste like winning. They taste like forgiveness, complicated, messy, and nothing like you expected. 3 Michelin stars hang on my restaurant wall. But the real prize is the photo I took that Thanksgiving. My whole family crowded around a mediocre turkey, looking happier than we'd been in years. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't success. Sometimes it's showing up anyway, even when they didn't deserve it. And sometimes, just sometimes, it's watching your mother take a bite of your $42 green bean casserole and finally say, "This is perfect."